September 20th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, how to not suck at going to college, part 1.
Let's do this.
Well, today was awesome. I go to get on the train, and it turns out my train was canceled due to mechanical difficulties.
My train was also canceled for mechanical difficulties.
As was Emily's.
It was the same train.
The same train.
So I just went home, played like a round of TF2, then went back and took the next train. That was good for me because I forgot my iPod and I was able to go and retrieve it, which is a big help because I listened to a lot of stuff today.
My iPod's actually kind of useless on the way to work unless I drive because I have the DVD player. I'm just watching Master Keaton and I don't really need a podcast to listen to. Plus, I listen to all my podcasts. I'm all caught up, and I can't find any new ones I like.
Okay. All right, here we go. You ready? Here's an awesome podcast I just found.
Uh-huh.
It's called Old Time Radio Sci-Fi. Now,
oh, you've told me about that.
Yeah, basically the deal with this podcast is they have old sci-fi radio shows from back in the day, and they just put them in a podcast for you to get. It's not perfect. First of all, it's done by those pod show people, and I don't like them. They're no good. And I think what they're really just doing is taking all this old material, either from an archive or from the public domain. I'm not sure if it's public domain or not. And they're just sticking it up in a feed. And they're not doing it very well. Because, like, for example, one of the things I found in this feed that I really liked was, like, a radio drama of Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth. And up there, first they put up part 1. There's 8 parts. Then they put up part 2. Then they put up part 6, and then they put up part 7, interspersed with other things.
I'm not willing to put up with crap like that, so I'm not going to listen to that podcast.
Well, I listened to 1 and 2, and they were awesome, so I'm just holding off until the rest is coming out. Actually, I listened to 7 by accident first because it was at the top of the feed, and I just kind of got it, and it wasn't labeled properly. But the stuff is actually really good, and I like it a lot. Like, I like it a lot more than I thought I was going to like it.
Yeah, well, I used to listen to a lot of old radio dramas. There's a radio station that actually had them on my drive home from work when I lived in the mountains from IBM, and I listened to some radio dramas, but you know what? They were contiguous, and every episode was directly followed by the next episode.
Yeah, that would be nice, but these are, I thought, I wasn't sure I would enjoy these, and it sort of like gives me the same feeling as like watching The Twilight Zone. It's really cool.
Honestly, I wish there'd be, there are fiction podcasts and there are, radio drama podcasts, but there aren't that many, and there aren't that many that are very good.
No, there aren't many that are very good at all.
If anyone can recommend one, I'd be welcome to it. I already know about Escape Pod and Pseudopod, and plus, those just read stories. It's not a radio drama, it's just a reading of a story.
Yeah, that's why there's a big difference, actually, between like an audio book and a radio drama. It's totally different, and if it's an audio book, I kind of don't like them that much because it's like there's a book and someone's reading it. But if it's a radio drama, the people are acting. It's like a play, only you can't see anything, and it's a totally different thing, and I like it a lot more.
Though the thing is, I've noticed in all the old radio dramas I've ever listened to, the style of acting, maybe it's just because that was the style of acting back then, because you hear it a lot in movies too, but the way people talk when they're expressing one emotion versus another is just like, it's almost painfully stereotypical.
Yeah,
like it really stands out. It doesn't bother me. It really stands out, and I can't not notice it.
Another thing from these old-time radio sci-fi. Also, I tried to listen to old-time radio comedy, but it wasn't funny. But I did, from both of these, I managed to actually learn a lot about radio just listening to it. And it's like,
Such as? What'd you learn?
Nothing that is like, like textbook knowledge, but like just, things I can hear. Like, oh, I hear that. That was clever. But like, for example, in I listened to like a Jack Benny radio show, right, on the comedy one, and the sponsor was Jell-O, right? And Jell-O had an announcement at the beginning of the show, and they had an announcement after the show was over, like, buy Jell-O, it's great for your family, it tastes good, blah, 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 right? But during the show was uninterrupted at all. But they joked about Jell-O, and they made fun of the announcer, and how they're like, oh, that announcer always not talking about Jell-O, he needs to shut up. And it was really kind of clever advertising, and I think, like if they just took the ads off the beginning and the end and just, did it that way, it's like you wouldn't even known there was an ad. You just think that guy talks about Jell-O a lot. And
I don't think anyone would be fooled.
I don't know, because they did it in a very non-fooling way.
Nah, just the way our society, especially people in our generation, we're just so tuned to avoiding advertising that anything that's in any way an ad just kind of stands out, even if it wasn't intended to be an ad.
But it was funny how back in the olden days of radio, they tried to make the ad inobtrusive to the show, and like the show was the focus, and they were trying to make the show good.
Well, think of this. If you went to advertising school, they'd probably talk about how, yeah, that was the old way before we discovered modern advertising techniques.
Probably, but, it made me happier.
Right, so this is all over the internet, and people are expressing various levels of outrage, but apparently the Harvard bookstore supposedly...
Like the one that, like, students go to buy books?
Yeah.
Okay.
Supposedly kicked someone out, or some people out, because they were writing down the prices of the books.
Uh-huh.
Now, the thing is, they're perfectly within their rights to do that. You can kick someone out of your store for any reason as long as it's not a protected class, such as religion, race,
Well, as
gender.
long as you don't do it because they're a protected class. For example, if there is a black person, an Asian person, and a white person and a Hispanic person in my store, I can't be like, I'm kicking out the Asian. All Asians out. You can't do that. But if, say, a black person is, being nice and a white person is harassing them because they're like a KKK guy, I could be like, all right, I'm kicking you out of my store because you're making a scene. I can't be like, I'm kicking you out of my store because you're white.
But people are saying, oh, the store can't do that. It's an outrage. Those stores are all ripoffs, blah, blah, blah.
They are all ripoffs.
Well, nah, it's not, because the stores themselves aren't necessarily a ripoff because the margins on textbooks are really, really razor thin.
Well, it's not. It's a combination of the store being a ripoff as well as the textbook publisher.
Well, no, the store does the whatever it can because otherwise it wouldn't make any money at all and couldn't even exist. And you're paying when you pay the high prices at a textbook store, especially for the used books, you're paying for the convenience. You're not paying for anything else. The actual ripoff is the fact that the 8th edition of a textbook is usually identical to the 7th edition, but yet it's $180, while the used 7th edition is $5. But they'll always change a couple of the questions so that you can't actually do your homework from the 7th edition.
This is why I think that they should not put assignments in textbooks at all.
No, but they do it because they make money. They know exactly what they're doing.
But if I was a professor and I had the power to choose textbooks, if I liked a textbook because of the text in it, I would never, and it happened to have assignments, I would never actually assign those assignments. I would never make
Scott, it's not, they don't even think that much. It's not even that issue. Because I went to a college, I went to a university, and with one exception, never was I forced to buy a textbook that was actually useful to the class. Anytime, a professor always has the list, like, you gotta buy this book and this book and this book. And they do, like, one chapter from the book, and you didn't even need to read it because he just gave all the information to you in the lecture anyway.
Yeah,
and stuff that wasn't in the lecture wasn't tested or anything, and he'd say, oh, read these chapters of the book, and then read these chapters, and then read these chapters, and it never came up in class at all. He totally told me to buy that book for no reason.
That is absolutely true. Oftentimes I would buy a textbook and never use it. The only times I used a textbook were when I had, say, a math or physics class and I was assigned graded homework from the textbook.
You forget that I had my no homework policy, so even if that were the case, I still didn't buy the book.
I did graded homework. I didn't do non-graded homework.
I didn't do graded homework.
Some teachers would say, read these chapters. I never read those chapters, unless it was a literature class, in which case I would get the book, read it, and keep it.
I still didn't, but that's because I had to read Tree of Red Stars.
Oh, no. I
never owned that book. I never read that book.
I took other literature classes, like real ones, later with real books.
See, I didn't. And honestly, what I usually did, because most classes, the professor would assign the book or whatever, but it didn't matter, except in my PTC classes. But it was just that they'd say we have to use the book, and they'd refer to the book and that sort of thing, but they'd always say you gotta buy this edition. If I bought a textbook at all, I always just bought the previous edition and dealt with it. And if there were assignments, I paid someone in the class who was dumb enough to buy the book $1 or $2 to let me copy the questions from his book.
Yeah.
Or my favorite thing to do was to buy the book and then return it for a refund within 7 days after having Xeroxed all the assignments out of it.
That's a good move, too.
Or even better, I'd go to the bookstore, open it, do the homework really quick in the bookstore, and then close it and leave.
That also works. Basically, college textbooks are a ripoff all around. They make you buy ones you don't need. The bookstore has a huge markup. The publisher charges way too much for them and keeps changing them. It's just not good at all, and you should do your best to do everything within your power to avoid spending and save as much possible money on textbooks as you can. If you absolutely need to have a book, then buy it like used at the biggest discount you can. If you don't need the current edition, get the old edition. If you don't need the book, don't buy the book.
Well, the most important thing is pay attention, because if you ever have a professor who says, yeah, buy the previous edition of this book, they're almost guaranteed to be a good professor. And also, watch out for professors who tell you to buy specific books and don't do much with them. A lot of times, either they wrote that book or one of their friend professors wrote that book and they're making money off of it. And that might sound evil and shady, and you know what? That happened a lot at RIT.
Yeah, I think I took like 2 or 3 classes where a professor told me to buy their book. And, the thing is, I usually didn't. But a couple times they'd be like, yeah, I know I'm telling you to buy my book. So I'm just going to give you all copies of it because I can, because it's my book. And I think one time they're just like, yeah, I'm going to make my book optional, just, because whatever.
I guess just whenever you have to take a class in college.
Oh, one time one of the dude's books was a pamphlet, so I bought it.
Just look at what books are assigned and don't buy them right away. Wait and try to figure out if you actually need the book or not, because in all seriousness, at least half the time, you don't need that book.
Yeah, this is mostly for freshmen who always go in with their parents, like before school even starts. When they're moving into the dorms, they go to the bookstore and they buy every single book it says to on the list.
In fact, I'm going to give you all a little hint, because I know your parents don't listen to Geeknights. If you're going to college and your parents are going to buy your books for your first quarter or semester or whatever, say yes.
Let them buy every single book, even the optional books.
All the books you need. Take the list of books that your professor said you need.
And get every one of them.
And then, as soon as they leave, return all the books except the ones you need.
Exactly.
Now also, the bookstore at any college is always going to try to take your books back. Like, you bought a book for $100 and then at the end they say, hey, we'll buy your used textbooks back and resell them. They're going to resell that book for like $90.
It's the same thing with selling books, selling video games to GameStop. All right, you give it to GameStop for $10, they sell it for $30.
$10? You realize most colleges are going to give you like $4 for your $100 textbook?
Yes,
if
this
that.
is why you go on Amazon or eBay and you sell it, and you're not going to be able to sell it.
You go. Find out when the next class of that is scheduled, the next semester. Show up on the first day outside the room and say, here's the textbook, $50. That worked so wonderfully. And the school will try to stop you sometimes. Do it anyway. It's totally worth it.
That works if you're too lazy to eBay or Amazon, which also
it works better because you'll get better prices, you'll get instant cash, and if you're really clever, what you do is stand by at the end of a semester the used bookstore thing, because usually they'll have a bin where you can throw the books that they're not going to buy. The scam there is they'll just take that bin and then sell those books anyway.
Yep.
What you do is listen, and as soon as they offer someone money for a book, immediately say, I'll give you $20 for it, or I'll give you $5 more or $10 more. And just buy all the books and then resell them.
That's tough. It's
not tough at all. The only problem is the bookstore is eventually going to call campus safety, and all you have to do is leave and then come back as soon as campus safety's gone, or get a friend to do it for you, or sell them just outside his site, like around the corner. Like as someone's walking up to sell the books, just say, I'll give you $5 more than whatever they offer for every single book you try to sell. Just come back to me.
You're gonna be like this illegal book dealer with like a dorm.
It's not illegal.
I know, but it's sort of you're gonna be like a guy with like a trench coat. I got textbooks.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's perfectly legal. And actually, a lot of bookstores are gonna try to lie to you and say that you can't resell the books. A lot of bookstores are gonna lie to you and say that you can't use the old edition. The professors won't allow it. If you ask a professor, like if I did this once, we had to get the 8th edition of some bullshit public speaking book, and we actually needed it because there were assignments in it. So I asked the professor if I could get away with using the 7th edition, and she thought for a minute and said, you know what? Yeah, probably. I don't think anything changed. And then the next week, she tells the class, yeah, so Rim over there, because my professors knew I was named Rim usually, said that the 7th edition is the same as the 8th edition, and it's only $10, so go buy that one. And if you bought the other book, I'm sorry, return it.
All right, we're done with the textbooks now.
Well, it's kind of relevant to what we're doing tonight, so.
Are we going to do that tonight? I thought we didn't decide yet.
Well, I decided right now, because it's kind of anyway.
All right.
Yeah, we're lazy, we're tired, I want to eat, and we weren't sure what we were going to do the show on.
Should I do my actual news now?
You got news?
I do have a news.
What's it about?
Well, basically, this is lady who's in some evil homeowners association. And you know how much we hate homeowners associations because they are the living embodiment of evil. And
Not just evil, very specifically the kind of evil that, like, all right, so the U.S. has invaded foreign nations and there's genocide going on in the world.
That's more evil than homeowners associations,
Well,
but...
no, what I was about to say is, whatever. I mean, not from a real, human perspective or my personal perspective, but from has a chance to affect my life directly right now.
Yeah. A homeowner association basically is a group of people that say, we care more about money and feeling good about ourselves and feeling powerful than we care about freedom and civil liberties and right and wrong.
Well, the way a homeowners association works in the United States, because a lot of people might not be familiar with this, really simply, is that they're usually attached to the deed of land that you buy and you can't opt out of it.
Or you can live somewhere else. That's your choice.
Yeah, your choice is to live somewhere else, but a lot of land in the U.S. now, if you want to buy a house on it, you have to agree to this homeowners association. And everyone who lives in a certain area is bound by it, and you have little elections to decide who in the community is going to run it, and you have a little board of directors, and you all have to pay dues. And basically, anything the board votes, you have to do. If the board just decided to vote that all houses have to be painted pink, if you don't paint your house pink, you get fucking evicted.
Yeah, I mean, you buy... This isn't like I'm renting a place and there's a landlord. This is, I own the land. I have a mortgage. I own the house. It belongs to me, but... In order to...
Well, it belongs to the bank.
Right. Well, I paid off my mortgage. I own the whole thing.
No one pays off a mortgage.
Let's say you do. Let's say you paid off the mortgage. It doesn't matter, right? I own the land and the house. They belong to me. I have the deed, everything. It's all mine. But when I bought the land, I was forced to sign a contract. Otherwise, they would refuse to sell the land to me. And when I signed that contract, I agreed that I would do whatever the homeowner association said. And if they say paint my house pink and I don't, they can kick me out of the house that I own. Owning. It belongs. That's like if I came to you and I said, oh, that's a nice computer you got there that you bought. Yeah. Even though you own that computer, belongs to you, when you bought it, you signed this contract that says, I can pee on it. Woo! You have to let me pee on it. You have to let me. And basically, the story here is that there's some lady who lives... stories like this happen every day. But
if you want to see him, read Fark.
Yes,
they're there.
Stories like this happen every single day. But this particular one is in the Wall Street Journal, and I think it's pretty good because it's actually people standing up for themselves rather than just homeowner associations peeing on everybody.
Granted, there was a recent story where a homeowners association got sued by all the members of it and totally lost.
All the members.
Well, not all the members, less than the majority.
Oh, good. But basically what happens is this lady set up a clothesline, which is apparently banned in the vast majority of homeowners associations.
Oh, of course, because clotheslines make your area look very low income. How dare someone not have a washer and dryer? Or, we have a washer and there's a dryer right there, but I use a clothesline anyway because I like to.
Right, so she set up a clothesline, and the person next door was...
dear, the white trash is moving in.
The person next door thought it was just temporary, that, because maybe their dryer broke or something. And then the person kept putting it up, and then they complained to the homeowners association, and now the lady's having to fight. But she's apparently got a few friends in the homeowners association because the person across the street was thinking about setting one up, too.
Well, remember, here's the modus operandi of a homeowners association. This is why it's so hard to fight them, because you think, all right, they can't do anything too stupid because the majority of people in your little community have to vote, and the majority of people living in a suburb can't be stupid, can they?
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, yeah, they're run by you and you get to vote, but who has time to deal with that if they also have a job? The vast majority of people who are active in homeowners associations, or even know they exist, are old biddies and crotchety old men.
And people who care about their property value more than they care about anything else, because they're just people who sit around taking care of their property. People who like the kind of person who would live in a house that's in a homeowner association. Because, you go look at these houses, and it's in a place where all the houses look the same, and they all have really well-tended lawns, and they're all clean, and they're all, right? Because that's what the homeowner association makes you do. So the person who really cares about the fact that all the houses on the street look the same and look nice is the kind of person who's going to move into this kind of place. And thus, if you aren't that kind of person and you move in, you're surrounded by all these people who care about what your property looks like, and they'll be upset if the other person's things don't match their things and that sort of thing. And
now, too, because people who have lives don't bother with this because they don't care unless there's an egregious thing. Like when your neighbor scraps the 19th car in his front lawn, I don't see a problem with the homeowners association intervening at that point.
No, but if I have, if I decide that I'm going to be, I'm a mechanic, I like to work on cars, and I have an old Camaro, and I want to work on it in my driveway, you're not allowed to do that in most homeowners associations.
Now, again,
you're not even allowed to own a car that's older than like
this were
5 or 6 years.
Even if this were actually a legitimate democracy, it wouldn't be that bad because people should generally have the right to self-govern. I think the issue is that, like I was saying, most of the people are old biddies and crotchety old men.
But there's no minority rights in a homeowners association.
Well, I was going to get to that if you weren't just Captain Interrupting tonight.
Well, because you're taking so long here. We got to get to the main bit.
You're the one who brought this news up. You knew, and we've talked about this before. I just won't say anything then.
All right, fine. So, the other...
I thought you were going to stop. If you're going to keep
talking...
I
got to say the last interesting thing that you've been preventing me from saying.
What's interesting? Because so far, this is like every other homeowner story.
Because apparently there are laws in some states that restrict certain things that homeowners associations are not allowed to ban. For example, in some states, homeowners associations are not allowed to ban like solar heating and solar electricity generating equipment and things like that. And this clothesline lady is claiming it's it's an environmental thing to use the clothesline because you're not using like dryers. I think are like the third most electricity using things in houses and stuff like that.
Yeah, even if you have a gas dryer, they cost a lot of money to run.
Oh, and a lot of power and energy. So in some states, I think 2 states, clotheslines, you're specifically not allowed to ban them because they are solar energy like equipment.
So is this lady in one of those states?
No, but I think she's in one of those states where it's questionable and it's not explicitly written that clotheslines are not allowed, are not allowed to be banned, but solar stuff is not allowed to be banned. So she might have to fight in court to say clothesline is a solar equipment something.
The moral is pretty simple. Even though a lot of places you might want to move have homeowners associations, don't move where there's one.
Don't ever move
while they can be used for good. The majority of them are used for evil. The evil of old bitty cat ladies.
Unless you really, care more about what your neighbor's lawn looks like than you care about your freedom to do whatever you want on your own property.
Because it's not that. If you have a job or something, you're not going to be able to participate in the stupid homeowners association because these people tend to set it up so that the meetings are always at like 2 o'clock on a Wednesday because they know all the real people can't show up because they have jobs or stuff to do.
Yep. Well, that's the other thing is they don't want those kind of people living there. They want a nice typical American family where one person goes to work and one person stays home to go to the homeowner association.
Yeah, and 1.5 kids and 2 cars and a dog.
They don't want like 2 20-year-old guys who are commuting and teching and setting up all sorts of cables and wires and dishes and antennas and air hockeys in the basement. They don't want that.
Oh man, air hockey in the basement.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay.
Anyway, things of the day. I'll be real brief about this because I don't think much needs to be said. The View is probably the most facile garbage talk show in the English-speaking world. I don't think anyone disagrees.
I've only heard of it because people keep saying stuff about it on Dig.
It's for idiots.
All I know is that it's like a show with a bunch of ladies on in the morning talking about stupid shit.
But here's the thing. There's a woman on here who is a creationist and whatever, and Whoopi Goldberg is on. And she is very delicately trying to put forth that maybe this woman hasn't quite thought her clever plan all the way through. And aside from the fact this woman just keeps interrupting and really just doesn't say anything worthwhile, nor does anyone else sitting around this table except Whoopi Goldberg. But the woman, in all seriousness, did not know if the earth was flat or round. Honestly didn't.
I saw on Dig something today where they were trying to cover up for her or something, but it's obvious when you watch this video, she does not know if the world is round or flat.
And she starts acting like, yeah, it's something I'd look up in a textbook, and then everyone else starts getting these looks of, and they start trying to dig into her, and she starts to realize that something's wrong. Something she just said is wrong. And she gets this flustered look on her face and she just starts spouting more and more drivel. And this woman seriously did not know if the earth was round or flat. And if her kid asked her that question, she said, I best be getting to the library.
Yeah, your kid probably come home from school and tell you what's what. But this is just further I guess, supporting something
That The View is terrible and shouldn't be watched by anyone.
Besides that, is that something I've learned in recent years is that, we always say, oh, most people are stupid, blah, and you see, like, funny things where, like, some guy on a game show doesn't know if the world is, that the earth revolves around the sun. He says the sun revolves around the earth or something like that, right? And you say, oh, these stupid people. Famous people are just as stupid. Just,
I don't know if she was famous. She might have just been on there.
She's on a TV show. She's, I guess, famous enough. She might not be super famous, like, I guess Steven Spielberg famous.
Well, it's kind of like how a lot of actors get really into social activism, even if they don't understand the issues at hand.
But famous people are just as stupid as the rest of us. Don't
but
go
at the same
believing
time,
what
Scott,
they say.
I would like to point out that despite the fact that The View is just a terrible show and nothing worthwhile has ever come out of it, when this woman went beyond the black of stupidity, like beyond the edge of the stupidity universe into the unknown void where there aren't be dragons because dragons are smarter than that.
Yep.
It's where the front fell off.
Yep.
But everyone else on that table obviously had this moment of, wow, that woman's stupid, even though they couldn't say it outright.
See, that's the other problem, is that just with television in general, I guess also on a show that's watched by, like...
Stupid people,
and is like, that kind of show, like a morning talk show, is not the kind of show where people want, like, yelling and like, wow, you're dumb on it. They save that for,
I
like...
do. If
I
there's a
know,
morning
I
show
do
like
too.
that-
But they do. Those shows are mostly saved for, like, the late night Comedy Central types. They're not the early morning network television types. And I think that's a problem with television and a reason why there's a lot less skeptical and...
Well, no, think about it this way. You're a business, and you want to put something on TV that's going to get people who are up at whatever time to watch your thing. So what'll make people be more inclined to go, and keep watching and feel good about themselves? Some woo-woo psychic lady saying, yeah, and, just talking about how she's a psychic and she found the kidnapped kid with her psychic powers. Or James Randi saying, that's not true, and here's proof. One's a lot more interesting, even though it's completely made up.
Well, I think the difference is, would you rather watch some people going chatty, 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 like they're in a coffee shop, or would you rather someone going, wow, you are stupid, and you should be going back to elementary school because you don't know if the earth is round or flat?
Well, the really sad thing is, Whoopi Goldberg was making a very diplomatic point, and she was doing it in a very conciliatory manner.
And she should have just let loose and said, wow, you're a dumbass.
Well, even that she didn't do that, the fact that the stupid, indignant woman just kept interrupting her and wouldn't even let her finish her very conciliatory remark was quite...
I think we just need some sort of thing where we can just say, wow, you have to go back to elementary school. You're not allowed to work.
I'm of the mind that anyone who wants further education obviously not everyone should get, medical training.
No,
like MD,
no.
I think any adult in this country should be eligible to get basic schooling if they
I think they
desire
should
it.
be forced to get it if they need it. All right.
Anyway, what do you got?
So you played the Oregon Trails.
It's one of my favorite games ever.
You got dysentery?
See, it was always like your thing sank in the river. You lost 4 bullets and 100 pounds of food and Billy.
Right. Well, that game, you can set up emulators and play the Apple II version, and there are ways to play that game still, but it's not the easiest thing to get a hold of and get running on your system, especially not perfectly. And some guy made a remake of Oregon Trail in Flash. But to bring it up to the modern times, he rethemed it, and he called it Thule Trail. I guess the company is the Thule Company.
Oh, I know that company.
Yeah, whatever. They make software, I guess. But it's a road trip, a modern road trip. And to give you an idea, the theme of the game is real quick. Instead of going to the store to buy wagon wheels at the beginning of the game and oxen, you go to Clem's Mini Mart in Chicago and you buy magazines and games, food and drinks, music, pellets, and car parts. And you choose, instead of choosing the type of wagon, you choose between the SUV, the speed wagon, or the sports car. It seems it's got the same gameplay as the old Oregon Trail for the Apple II, but it's got the retheming of modern times, and I think it's pretty fun for anyone who's looking for an Oregon Trail in Flash.
So I was looking to see if I was sure, because I didn't remember if it was Thule or another company I was thinking of, but according to Wikipedia here, Thule is also a title of an ancient, possibly not having existed island.
Thule?
Yes.
Sweden?
Sweden?
It says Thule, and then in like the L and the E sort of combine, and it says Sweden in there. I think it's a Swedish software developer.
Ah.
Yeah. All right, it's thuletrail.com. All right.
Whatever, it's not Cthulhu, so...
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, a Cthulhu-based Oregon Trail you're trying to get to R'lyeh?
Ooh, we're trying to get out. R'lyeh Trail. It's got to be made.
It would be perfect if the map was just made up as you go and didn't actually go anywhere.
Pay the cultists $5 to get across the burning sea.
Oh, but they ate you anyway. Billy has dysentery. Billy has died of insanity. So... luckily, I guess my news sparked a conversation along these lines, but tonight we're going to begin another one of those long-running series that won't be updated so often.
I feel like we've done an episode or two of this before.
Yeah, but
especially in the early days of the show.
I don't think we've done this specific thing, and we haven't. I kind of want to break it up more into actual specific advice.
Yeah,
because,
it is often asked. It's like one of the most common questions we get in emails and forums and things.
And a lot of people really suck at it. So the question tonight is, what is Semprini?
Well, you see, in 1957.
Or 58.
Right.
The topic tonight is how to not suck at going to college, part 1.
Well, mostly today we're going to concentrate on the stuff before college. From the time when you're just a kid in high school to the time where you say, this is what I'm going to do. That's the stuff we're going to try to cover.
Yep, part of it's because a lot of people, particularly people from colleges, are going to throw you a line and feed you one at the same time. They're going to lie in any way they can to get you to go to their school.
Basically, everything your high school tells you about going to college. Now, they do have your best interests at heart, usually, like your guidance counselors and stuff, but... they don't know as much as you know, it seems like they know. They just know a lot more than you, so it seems like they know everything. It is their job. They must know. They don't know shit.
I mean, here's an example. I went to my guidance counselor, who I'd never met when I was a junior in high school, and I said, high school guidance counselor, I think I want to go into computers or music. What should I do? And he said, well, if you want to go into computers, you should go into a major called computer science, and go to, like, MIT or Caltech. And I was like, okay. And what about music? And he's like, you don't want to go into music.
Not only that, but...
that was the extent of his knowledge of everything I wanted to... That was it.
My guidance counselor was pretty similar. I mean, he didn't know about, like, smaller schools or any... You know, they don't really know. You have to do the research
He
on
also...
your own.
Of course, he said, well, we'll go to U of M, too, because everyone went to U of M.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, they didn't know about schools like, say, Rose-Hulman or even CMU or anything.
Well, not even that. He didn't know that there were majors other than computer science. Think about this. And this is a problem. This is a huge problem in the computer industry, because... computer science is not the major it used to be, but I don't think anyone at the high school level knows that. I mean, I didn't know it when I was in high school, and none of my teachers knew it. No one can tell me.
Yeah, I mean, you think your guidance counselor knows the difference between IT, software engineering, computer science, electrical engineering, computer engineering, or microelectronic engineering?
Or applied networking now?
They're all super different. They all super matter. But if you don't know that when you're in high school because your guidance counselor doesn't freaking know, you got to do your own research, and you can't be relying on those guidance counselors.
Yep. I mean, think about it. I went to RIT for an orientation thing, and I was like, yeah, I want to be a computer science major. And they were like, oh, really? Coding. And I was like, but what about networking and engineering? They're like, oh, that's a different major that you've never heard of.
Yeah. So the first thing you have to do in high school, before even thinking about college, is... what do you want to do? I mean, maybe you want to be a mechanic or something like that. Maybe you want to be a fireman. Maybe you want to be an astronaut because you're still in kindergarten.
Now, more importantly, when you think about what you want to do, try not to think along the standard lines, because there are a million awesome careers out there that no one's ever going to tell you about, and you're going to find out about them long after it's too late.
I know. Since I've started working, I see all these jobs about, and I start to realize, wow, that's someone's job. Like underwater welding, or like...
dude, you make so much money underwater welding.
It's super dangerous, but you make so much money.
If only I'd known.
You know, you could, I mean, even like within careers that are obvious, like you think about teaching, go, I don't want to be a teacher. But then no one tells you, oh, you didn't even realize you could be a shop teacher. Oh, I would totally be a shop teacher. There's a zillion careers out there in the world, and most of them you just won't even think about because they're sort of obvious but non-obvious. They're hiding in plain sight.
A good example was printing. like printing science and color science and all those things, because I didn't even think about that. And I heard after I got to RIT that, yeah, RIT has like a good program in that. No, RIT has a world famous program in that.
And
one
you
of the
can make
best
$1
in the
zillion
world.
doing it because no one does.
One of my friends from high school actually went to RIT and went into that major. And I thought, oh, whatever, printing something. His job is awesome. I would love to have his job. If I'd known that major was what I didn't know it was, I would have gone into it. And forget IT.
Packaging science, race car driver.
Damn.
Race car driver, didn't think of that job.
Yeah, you realize that that's an option. Seriously. It's not like, oh, you might think about...
World famous race car driver may be a little difficult, but professional race car driver making money, definitely an option.
Yeah, so if you think you want to do something, even if it's outlandish, just do some research and find out what it takes.
Work in the air hockey manufacturing factory?
I don't think that's the greatest job.
No, but it could be a job.
There
There are jobs out there.
are.
There are.
Now, two, and there are exceptions to this, and I've known some of them, so this is not 100% like perfect law. But generally, if you don't know what you want to do and you don't have a clear plan forward, you probably either shouldn't go to college
Right away.
yet, or if you go to college, don't go to a major university.
Don't go to
community college.
Don't do anything expensive. Like, if you don't know what you want to do, either go to your community college and just take classes that you think are fun and try to figure out what you want to do while you bide your time, or maybe, a lot of people just went right into jobs without going to college, like Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Steve Wozniak, or Bill Gates dropped out of college.
But if you're going to go to an expensive college like RIT or Caltech or Yale or something,
you better know what the fuck you're doing before you go there.
Because, and RIT, this was so prevalent where
Especially RIT.
Someone would come to RIT and they'd go undeclared. Meaning,
or they'd go into a major and then realize they didn't like it.
Yeah, but usually, because that's okay, because you think you won't like it, and that's at least a start. But a lot of people came to RIT undeclared, and RIT even acted like this is an option. And
They did act like it was an option.
It's not an option.
It's not.
So you show up and you start taking classes.
It's an option if you want to lose a lot of money.
And the thing is, at any major university, particularly in tech and science fields, if you don't know exactly what you're doing and you don't plan out all the classes you're going to take pretty much forever from the start, the prerequisites and all the things that are going to get in your way are going to totally fuck you, and you'll be there a lot longer than you expect.
Yeah, if you go to RIT and you know exactly what you want to do and you stick with it the whole time and you were right, that was what you wanted to do, 5 years and you'll be okay. If you don't know what you want to do, you might be there 6 years minimum, probably 7 years. That'll basically cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars just you know what you want to do.
Because a lot of those, general, non-matriculated, whatever classes don't actually count for anything in a lot of majors.
Nope. So, you got to figure out what you want to do in life. And then, let's say you figure out what you want to do. You decide, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. Well, if you decide you want to be a doctor, you have to go to medical school. You have to get super good grades. You're going to spend the next 10 years of your life being in hospitals and doctor schools and all sorts of stuff. And you have to get ready and do that because that's the way to be a doctor. If you're going to be a mechanic, go to the vocational school in your town, learn to be a mechanic, get a job at a Firestone or something, and be a mechanic. You don't need to go to college. Why spend money going to college getting drunk for 5 years when you didn't have to do that and you could have gone right to work?
Well, the reason for that, and I think this is probably the crux of the issue. I've been saying that a lot lately in all our shows. This is the crux, this is the base, this is the important part.
Yep.
Anyway, the crux of the issue is that college, particularly university, I think the primary thing that I got out of college was not my IT knowledge or my computer knowledge or my PTC knowledge or anything I learned from the classes.
Nope.
It was the college experience.
Yep.
And if you go to a college and you think you're in a major, and as long as you don't absolutely hate the major and it's making your life miserable, but say you get 2 years into, computer engineering, you decide you don't really want to do it as a career. It's generally not in your best interest to switch majors because then you basically have to start over. However, if you finish the major, finish the degree, at least you're going to be able to get a job, and more importantly, you still get the full college experience, which is the important thing of going to college. You'll learn a lot more about life and living and friendship and all that, stuff than you're going to learn in your classes.
Yep.
And a lot of people
I
really
did learn stuff
that.
in my classes. Some of the class.
Yeah.
But that was worth it, and if I didn't learn that, it would have been sort of a waste to go and spend all that money.
Like, I'll say this, the things I did in the RIT Anime Club have affected my life a lot more than any class I took at RIT.
That's for sure. So you have to, before you go to college, you have to, it seems like a lot of people just go to college by default. Like, they don't even think about it. Like, after high school, you go to college. It's like grade 13. That's
it's
what
kind
you
of
do.
the same thing that causes a lot of people like, all right, I'm out of college, get a job. All right, I got a job, time to get married. All right, I'm married, got to have kids. All right, got to send the kids to college, got to die in a retirement home.
After you graduate high school and you're 18, at least in the United States, you are now free to do as you please. I mean, if you want certain things, you're going to have to do certain things to get those. Like, if you want to have a house, you're going to need a job and money, which means if you want a certain kind of house in a certain place, you might need a higher paying job, and thus you might need college. But you have to figure out what you want and then figure out how to get it. And don't go doing a college thing unless you decide that's what you really want to do with your life for 4 years, or if it's something you need to do.
Yeah, think about it this way. If you're going to go to college and you're going to pick a college and all that, just think to yourself, what do I actually want to get out of this? And list everything. I mean, it might be degree and the experience of college, and that's fine. Because maybe it's spend 5 years in a frat. That's fine. As long as you realize exactly what you're going to give up and what the opportunity cost is to get what you have decided you want.
Yep. Now, there's also a lot of other options you can consider. Let's say you decide you really want to go to college and study literature, right? Because you want to be like, I don't know, an English teacher or an author or like a book publisher or something like that.
A librator.
Right. Well, you go to library science for that, which needs a master's degree. But you decide you want to do that. That's what you really want to do. You worked in a library in high school. You're all about the books. So you go, but you don't have a lot of money. But you really want to get a degree from this really fancy school because that will let you get the job at the fancy library you really want to work at. You can save a lot of money by going to community college for like 2 years, then transferring to the real college. I know a lot of people who did that, and they ended up, they actually went to a community college. They learned a lot there because they found a good one. They didn't spend much money there because it's super cheap. And in the end, they basically got the degree from the better school, but only having to go to the better school for 2 or 3 years or 2.5 years, and they paid like half price, and it's like discount degree.
Another way to go about this is, now there's something else in some other places, but in most of the United States, there's something called advanced placement classes in high school. It is in your best interest to take these classes and then take the AP tests, even though they cost money, because the vast majority of colleges in the United States will accept these as college credit for a lot of classes, and you can basically get the same effect as going to community college in high school. I mean, I went into RIT with 41 credits taken care of from the just tests that I took in high school, and another 8 from community college.
Yep, that's one of the only 2 things that actually matters in high school. Don't listen to anyone who tells you otherwise.
Yeah, your grades don't matter beyond getting, like as long as you have a decent GPA.
Well, the grades matter. It depends what you want to do. Again, if you want to go to Harvard, you need that, 4.0 GPA or something. But if you decide that Harvard isn't for you, that you not really need to go there, you don't want to be like a Harvard lawyer or
If you want to go to RIT, a 1.8 is fine.
If you just want to go to your state school, you can get some C's and stuff in high school. It's not going to matter.
It depends. Like in Michigan, actually, University of Michigan, it was super fucking hard to get in.
Well, couldn't you go to Michigan State, though?
You could. No, I can't make Michigan State's just as awesome. My brother actually went there.
All right, I'm just saying, this.
You know what? Actually, I would say Michigan State was a much more fun campus, though U of M was a much more serious business campus.
Nah, I don't know.
I would prefer the latter.
Anyway.
Well, let's skip all that, because that's actually a really important thing. Even if, you think, all right, I want to be a whatever, so I've got to go to Yale because Yale is the best school for that. If a school is good enough for something, then you don't need to worry about it, because if you want to go to the best school in the field, that's a whole different ballgame. But much more important than going to the good school in your major is going to a school that you're going to be able to live at, enjoy, and prosper in for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, if you end up like a lot of people transfer from schools because they can't hack it, like people who transfer out of RIT, not because they want to leave, but because they can't deal with it, or they get there and they don't like it, that is not good. Going from community college to real college, because that was your plan, is good. Transferring between colleges because you got there and you didn't like it is bad. That was poor planning. It cost you a lot of money, and it cost you a lot of time.
Now, case in point, a lot of people, they want to be an IT major because they find out, oh yeah, IT, there's a lot of money in that. And they don't have to code so much, which is kind of a lie. But, all right, So I want to go to IT. Oh, well, the best IT school in the country, nay, the world, is probably the Rochester Institute of Technology. I should obviously go there. That is when you want to stop and think about it, because, okay, it's a great IT school, but there are other IT schools, and every college campus is totally different. Even if you want to be an IT major, RIT might not be the place you want to live. You might not enjoy RIT. A lot of people don't like living at RIT and freak out and have to leave.
There are a lot of things that are different at a lot of schools that, aren't obvious. And remember, when you go to a school and the people there, even the students, right? They're trying to sell you the school. Don't think that you're going to look to buy a school and they're just, being all honest. They have a school. You're going to pay them $1 zillion if you go there. They are salesmen. They are going to only tell you the good things and they're not going to tell you the bad things.
Yep. If you show up at RIT for those parents' weekends, like, check it out. Your kids should come here. Check it out, kids. You should come here. RIT redoes the landscaping right before the parents come. Like, they put in landscaping and the campus looks beautiful for like 2 weeks. And then after the parents leave and you've committed and you've paid money and you're now at the school, that landscaping all disappears. And then the snows come. And the snows don't stop, and you're trapped.
This isn't just RIT, though. We're not picking on RIT.
It's just an example.
Every school has hidden secrets like that. Things that, they might, tell you about them, but they'll make them seem like good things. Like they'll say, RIT has this great quarter system, but if you can't hack dealing with an entire class in 10 weeks, and doing 3 freaking quarters a year, like they call them quarters because it's a summer quarter, but if you can't deal with 3 10-week periods of taking classes a year and a lot less vacation than other schools that have semester systems, you're going to bomb at RIT, and it'll be very unpleasant for you.
And also, this campus does not look the way it normally does when you visit it for some sort of orientation or pre-weekend or whatever. So whenever you're thinking about a college, very simply, go to whatever event they, say, like, oh, come and see the college on this day, because they get a lot of information. Go back to the college sometime in the middle of a quarter or semester, like right before midterms.
And go unannounced. Don't be like going to the admissions office being all like, yeah, I want to come for a tour, and then they'll have someone guide you around. No, just go to the school and just show up and we'll look around while people are taking
classes. Just wander around, hang out in the quads, go to the library, go to the gym.
Go to the coffee shop.
Walk through a
Go
building.
anywhere that non-students, can get around to without being suspicious.
So, in the end, I mean, we could go on about this forever, and we're probably going to do a lot more shows about, things like how to actually show up at college, because, a lot of people show up with like a gigantic truck just full of crap that won't fit in their room, and some people show up
and then over the years they get rid of all the crap they realize
but
they
then
don't
some
need.
people show up like without bed sheets and without a pillow and without a towel.
I don't understand those people.
And that'll be an episode in and of itself, but the moral of this one is pretty simple. Don't trust what anyone tells you. Do your own research. And
do a lot
fine.
of research into everything: the school, the major, what you want to do with your life, etc. Don't leave any stone unturned.
Don't do what Donnie Don't does.
And also, it's good to know what you want to do. And, if you're having a hard time knowing what you want to do, well, think about what you do all day. If you just click on Dig all day, maybe you want to be like an internet sort of advertising bloggy person. And
yeah.
You could try to do that.
A tech writer. You don't have to go to college right away. It's totally okay to go to college a year later.
It's totally okay to college when you're like 30.
It's totally okay to just work in GameStop the rest of your life so you can play your video games.
You could eventually maybe be like a GameStop regional manager pretty easily if you just stuck with it.
I mean, if you do what you want, do what thou wilt.
And know how to do it.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.